Did everyone see Ghostbusters except for me?
Yes,
you didn't see it?
I actually did go see it, and it was actually not as bad as everyone said it was going to be. So you go in with the lowest expectations, you'd be amazed what you come out with.
It was better than Ghostbusters 2.
So was the bowel movement.
Much better.
No, it is. It is actually. Let's be very honest. What did we say a couple months ago? We said that Kate McKinnon would be the MVP, and she is the MVP of the movie. There's no doubt about that. It is much better than the second Ghostbusters, but it has the same problem as the second Ghostbusters.
Which is what?
Is that it was. I'll never forget what Sigourney Weaver said when the second one came out. We did this one for the kids. These movies are all, how should I say, they're kid movies. There's no escaping that. I think when you have an animated series in between the first and the second movie, I think it's safe to say you have a children's movie. But this one works a little bit better, I think, because it's like, I think the first half of Ghostbusters 2 is very good when they're all separated. And it's like, where have they been kind of thing is very good. But as a whole, it could never equal the first one. It doesn't matter what you have the whole cast coming back, but you could never replicate that. This one is a little bit better.
If this one's for kids, what would like a Bergman Ghostbusters be? Since he was so into mortality and.
I think that's Hour of the Wolf. It would be like Hour of the Wolf.
Would the ghost like be playing chess on the beach with the guy?
No, Scenes from Marriage.
Or Fanny and Alexander is all about ghosts too. So there's tons of ghosts in that.
So this Ghostbusters is not like that. I just want to get that clear. It's not like that.
Although Fanny and Alexander is a Ghostbusters kind of movie. I mean, God, that last scene in Fanny and Alexander rivals anything I've seen lately.
Here's what I heard. I didn't see the movie because I don't leave the house, but this is what I heard: that it's fine, it's good, especially if you keep your expectations in check. That it's a perfectly agreeable, enjoyable movie, and then it dissolves like so many of these movies into a nonstop CGI fest.
That's absolutely true. All the laughs disappear. My memory of the original Ghostbusters is that it's funny all the way through, even when it's more quote-unquote serious elements, the ghost and Zool and all that stuff come into play. And
because of Bill Murray, right?
Huh? What now?
Because of Bill Murray and his sarcasm playing against that.
Yes,
yeah.
But it's all and to a certain extent, Harold Ramis and Aykroyd and Hudson, but and also Rick Moranis, is another character. There's no character in this movie that kind of mirrors the Rick Moranis character.
No,
but
not Chris
yeah. So he was responsible for a great number of laughs in the original too. It does resolve in a typically over CGI'd way that really didn't add anything in the humor department. It basically ceases to be a comedy, and it has a real strange thing where they somehow they revert back to 1976 era New York. I don't know why that happened in the movie, but all of a sudden you see old 70s New York in the background, and with posters for Taxi Driver and things like that, Fist of Fury and stuff on the marquees. I still am not sure why they did that, why that happened. The movie is pretty funny up to that point, though, with Kate McKinnon, who I have to confess I was a little disappointed with Kate McKinnon because I thought that she was overacting in a lot of ways.
I don't think she got enough to do. I mean, quite frankly.
Well, she didn't have enough to do, and so she shunted over to the side. She didn't have enough great lines. They really gave a lot of the great lines to Leslie Jones playing the MTA worker.
And I always feel she gets the laugh, because of who she's related to in the movie.
Yes, and also Chris Hemsworth is very funny as the sort of boy toy kind of secretary, dunderheaded secretary that they hire. He gets a lot of laughs.
He's still smarter than anybody I work with, though. But I mean,
he plays a great moron, and I really I thought that Melissa McCarthy did not register in any way on the humor scale in this, which was unusual, because I really liked. I like Bridesmaids. That's a Paul Feig movie. That's why I mentioned it. And also, I like Spy. I never saw the Heat, but
they're all good. But even in the Spy movie, the Spy belongs to Jason Statham more than anybody else.
He's great at it, but she's funny in it too. I mean, let's give her everybody's good in that movie.
Right. But
that's a top-notch comedy film.
Doesn't register in this. I mean, I think it's really, Kate McKinnon and also Leslie Jones. I think Kristen Wiig is all right, but she's sort of really restrained in this movie.
Very restrained. I thought she only had, a couple of scenes that really used her humor really well. I thought one of the funniest scenes in the movie was just because it was so joyful in a way. Was the scene where she's dancing with Chris Hemsworth in their office. For some reason I thought that was hysterically funny.
So we have the Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters are present. Chris Hemsworth, for all intents and purposes, is playing the Annie Potts role. Is there anyone doubling in for Rick Moranis?
No.
No, there's no Rick Moranis. There's no love. Love interest for any of the characters, so therefore there's no Sigourney Weaver type in it. So they didn't quite reproduce the original movie completely. But it does generally follow the trajectory of the original film, and some shots look directly out of the original film actually. But
yes, that's the kind of thing that's unsettling, is that, wow, you guys really didn't bother. It's almost like you're tracing over the original film in certain sequences. There's not a lot of originality. There's not a lot of originality. But let's be very honest. It is a funny film. It's not the thing that everyone, what do we want to call these people online? Ghost Brothers, Bros? What do we want to call them? Ghost Bros? I mean, what the hell do we want to call these people?
Sexist losers.
Let's just call them losers.
Rich, what did you think of it, Rich?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was on it or not. It's a great movie for the family. It's a great movie for kids. You got a good amount of laughs in the film. What I found, and Dean, I edit quite a bit, and Dean likes to edit as well. I thought some of the edits were a little strange, though. Like they cut them a little too early. The laughs were the timing wasn't right or something, which I found interesting. Did you notice that, Dean?
I didn't really notice that. But it does feel. I will say this, and what I did notice is that the movie feels kind of rushed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God! It's a very quick movie. Very fast.
Well, I mean rushed in a bad way, though. I mean rushed in the sense that it feels like they didn't put the proper work into it.
No, there's that. Oh, that's definitely there. I mean, that's not just a problem with this movie. That's a problem with a lot of movies over the last decade. They just feel they want to get them out there. And I mean, I won't lie to you. I see it in the Independence Day sequel, which they had 20 years to make, and it feels like they made it in 2 days.
Yeah.
And that's a really bad movie. I mean, that's not even. And it's not even. I was talking to someone the other day. We don't have good bad movies anymore. We just have bad movies. We don't have the luxury of even laughing at these movies.
Like fun bad movies are probably being made for the VOD market. They're not really being made for theaters. You're absolutely right. What we get into the theaters is just bad movies that are dull.
Very dull. I mean,
that aren't there's nothing about them even worth thinking about.
Yeah, I mean,
enjoying on any
I
level.
don't put Ghostbusters in that category. Ghostbusters at least is fun at least, but a lot of these movies, a lot of these sequels or reboots, especially this year, have just been wretched. I mean, and they're not. Let me ask
you one last question about Ghostbusters. How are the cameos from the original cast handled? Well,
they're nice and surprising, and I particularly liked Dan Aykroyd's. I thought that was the only one that gave me a laugh. But Ernie Hudson's is memorable, and so is, I guess, Sigourney Weaver. But
I think Sigourney Weaver's takes the cake. I think Bill Murray's is the one that sort of falls flat.
It does.
And I almost feel he's doing the outtakes from his character from The Cradle Will Rock. To be honest with you, but
yeah, or I mean, like, and Annie Potts, has a quick one, a very very quick one that's not very funny, but she's in there. It's nice to see her. And
Andy Garcia is actually very funny in this.
Andy Garcia's in it?
He's the mayor.
He's the mayor.
And there's this whole scene. Don't compare me to the mayor of Jaws. Don't compare me. And that was
funny.
Very funny.
Yeah.
That I thought was classic.
I was surprised. Here's some other things that I'm being reminded of now. I'm surprised at the amount of really bald-faced product placement in it. Like, I remember particularly being surprised at, here we are in the middle of New York, and there's a scene with the Ghostbusters sitting around eating Papa John's pizza, which I don't think would sit well with the with the liberal, I guess, love fest going on for this girls movie. Here's this Papa John's pizza, and Papa John's is not known for their liberal mindsets. But I just thought it was, rather than it just being about Papa John's, I just thought, well, there's 1,000 pizza places in New York. Why would you have to go to a Papa John's? But it's so obvious why it's there, and there's a lot of that in there, which I don't really understand in a movie like this. But
guys, can I say
I
one
don't
thing,
like
though?
it.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that's a little interesting, that's a little bit different, is that back in the 70s and 80s, you had guys working on films that knew pratfalls, and they knew how to do timing and how to do these things. It seems like the pratfalls and the practical effects that they did in the film kind of fell flat. It's like, what happened to all the good gag guys in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Where have they gone? It's like there were things that should have been funny that just weren't funny.
Well, like for instance,
unfortunately, on most of the people going to see this movie, because first of all, they wouldn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the sad state right there. They really don't. Most of the people I know watching this are watching on my computer screen as they speak, sadly. So that's really lost on them.
There's the scene, like for instance, where Melissa McCarthy loses control of one of the gadgets that they have to fight the ghosts. And that's just a scene that just falls extra flat for me. I mean, like...
It should have worked, and it didn't.
And also, probably the most embarrassing part of the entire movie for me was that long scene in the quote-unquote metal show. Wasn't really a heavy metal show, but it was a band that used to be heavy metal and is now... sort of quasi-metal, and they're opening up for Ozzy Osbourne, who has a cameo, by the way.
Yeah,
and
how much did they have to pay him? A lot of money, or are they just happy he was sober?
He probably just wandered in. He didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
he looked like it really looked like they filmed him in front of a green screen and just green screened him in. But
so what
it
band
did.
was that opened up for them? What band was that opened up for us?
I don't think it was a real band. It was like a fake band.
But
it was.
To figure out. Do I have albums by these guys or not?
No, it was a fake band. I'd never heard of the band before. Not that that means anything, because I haven't heard of half of the music that's out there. But they was just an embarrassing scene, I thought, and way too long. And of course, a demon, a ghost, demonic ghost comes in, and they make it part of the show. And I just didn't think any of that worked, really. But there's still a lot of good stuff in it. It's a movie that I would put in the not bad column. Like, I didn't hate it, but it did get I did feel that it got very tiresome in its ending. And I just okay, I'm over this now.
It opened fairly well at $46 million to finish off at number 2. Number 1 is still The Secret Life of Pets. But the blockbuster of the summer, outside of Finding Dory, is Secret Life of Pets. The only family film that hasn't done well this summer is Spielberg's. Which seems
That's
so
true. Isn't that weird?